This is the Doctors Who Read Stuff. While we enjoy movies, television, and video games, we don't believe it should be at the expense of literature. We're here to discuss chapters 22 and 23 of Mistborn: The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. We do drop content every week, so please click the subscribe button below to stay up to date. All right, we're live.
Sweet.
Welcome. We are the Doctors Who Read Stuff. My name is Chris.
I'm Chip.
I'm Brian.
And today we're talking Mistborn: The Final Empire, chapters 22 and 23. I think it's almost like I just said that.
Yeah.
It was strange.
You get a strong memory.
Man.
Short-term.
That's,
And they say when the short-term memory goes, that's one of the first signs of problems. Anyway, so we start with a quick synopsis.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
All right, so chapter 22, Vin is reading from her copy of the journal, which is the logbook that she stole at the assault on Critic Shaw. Sazed's been translating it, and she's reading through it. Her spook shows up and tells her that Doxon's arrived, and Spook also gives her a handkerchief because he wants to seriously court her. So Doxon's in a meeting with Reno outside, so Vin can't talk to him yet, so she goes to talk to Sazed and kind of picks his brain about ferrochemy and kind of the storing up of things with metal objects. They also talk about keepers and the Terris religion, and some of the history of the crew members. She eventually gets to talk to Doxon, and Doxon talks about his past as a skaa slave on a plantation. He also talks about how noblemen, when they bet a skaa woman, they kill her shortly thereafter to kind of limit potential breeding and contamination of the allomantic genetic pool of some sort. And also just because it kind of shows the brutal nature of the society that they live in. Vin's kind of taken aback by this because Doxon talks about a woman that he loved on the plantation that this happened to, and after, I think it was Lord Devonshire killed her, Doxon fled and ended up in Luthadel, where he eventually met Kelsier, and that rest is history. But Vin's very concerned because having affection towards Elend, she's very concerned that, if he's noble and he's done this, it's going to be a hard thing to deal with. Chapter 23, Vin's back at the big balls because she likes big balls. And
I'm still shocked that you guys didn't call me out on
I
that
know.
last time.
I should have worn my AC/DC shirt.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's talking to some of the noblemen there, noble attendees, and she's happy to notice that the tension that Kelsier is causing between the houses is really starting to pay dividends. She doesn't see Elend right away, and she's worried to talk to him because she's afraid she's going to be uncivil. As she's sitting there, Shan shows up and comes up and talks to her. She tells Vin that she wants her to go through Elend's books looking for anything that's kind of blasphemous or, some books that he shouldn't probably have. After that, I think she's waiting for Sazed, and then she notices Elend, and she goes to talk to him and basically confronts him about the behavior of noblemen who bed skaa women. Elend does confess that once when he was younger, his father forced him to do that, and he's never done it again, and he's always felt very uncomfortable about it. And he seems to be pretty sincere when he tells Vin this. And ultimately, they kind of have a long conversation, and he gives her a handkerchief as a sign that he wants to seriously court her. Then he leaves to go talk to his friends who are on rival houses, and Vin uses allomancy to follow them and kind of spy on them, at which point she sees Kelsier up there spying on them as well, and they have a quick conversation and then go their separate ways. And that's 22 and 23.
All right. So really there wasn't like a lot of movement. There wasn't a lot that really happened in these chapters, but it did fill in a lot of blanks and a lot of gaps that we had.
Absolutely. There's a lot of information on not allomancy so much as ferrochemy and Sazed's abilities. They start to kind of
and
peel back some of those layers.
And the understanding of why the Terris have been kind of a hunted race from the Lord Ruler.
Mm-hmm. And why he sees them as somewhat
a threat. Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting, too, and I think this was the chapter that he was talking about the Terris religion, and that's the one religion the keepers don't know, and that they've been searching for this whole time.
Yeah.
That
and the Lord, they made Sazed made a point, or made a comment, that the Lord Ruler wasn't just content to exterminate them. He basically wanted to deconstruct their culture and their whole way of life. And within like the first couple centuries of that oppression, like their religion was lost to them.
Yeah. I thought one of the interesting notes I wrote from Sanderson in his annotations, he said originally he was going to call feruchemy something else. He was going to call it hemalurgy, which sounds like a bad bleeding wound or
something. It does.
Yeah, like a blood disorder.
But he decided feruchemy was a better word and kind of stuck with that. And he said that he uses hemalurgy in some other stories, which having not read him outside of the Wheel of Time stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. Interesting.
He said it's the third magic system of this world, being allomancy, feruchemy, and then hemalurgy. He also said that the lost Terris religion is very important, and it hides many clues that explain what is really going on in the stories and in the logbook and some of these other things.
I found something interesting when Vin is kind of like has the internal monologue about how she's not happy that Sazed's making her read this, and she wished she'd never found it.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's almost like, I read that and I'm like, oh, something major's going to be in this thing. As soon as she's like, I wish I never found this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like when Frodo said he wished the ring had never come to him.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what about a boring movie about Frodo if the ring hadn't come to him?
Right.
Yeah, that was kind of
movie, book.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing that I highlighted in my reading, too, was when in the logbook it talks about Terris as a place of green fertility, and Vin thinks, green and beautiful? Why would green be beautiful? That would be like having blue or purple plants. It would just be weird. So it just kind of adds to the bleakness and just the...
But it's a good point, because if you've never seen it or never known it, it would be odd. Like if somebody told me 300 years ago that grass used to be purple.
It did.
Maybe. I don't know.
I used to tell my kids that old photos were black and white because the world used to be black and white, and then it slowly turned to color, and that's why a lot of the older pictures are kind of grainy and the colors aren't as vivid as new pictures.
Oh.
Yeah. They believed it for a while when they were younger. But
good job, Dad.
I was always proud of that one. That was
good
a good one.
That's a good one.
But if you remember a couple chapters ago, Sazed was wearing eyeglasses.
Oh yeah, that was.
And we started reading this, and she made the observation when she went in to see him that he no longer had the eyeglasses on, and then he started talking about how they can store abilities
and they can...
in metal, and that's why they wear all the earrings, and he's got like some bracers on and things like that, and like I was like, oh, and then she actually picked up on it not too long after that. So it's kind of cool how he like lays these things out. By he, I mean Brandon Sanderson, and then later on you're like, oh wait, that just connected. So I like that.
It's a good connection.
Yeah. But it was also interesting when he was talking about how for a while the Lord Ruler tried to outlaw skaa from wearing any metal.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
But the nobility still would. And Vid made the comment that she's like, that's kind of dumb from an allomantic perspective. And then Sazed said some of them went so far as to wear wood that was just painted to look like metal. And so good world building, I think, has these fun, quirky, interesting little pockets of detail like this, and that's I get excited about that. So yeah. And then
but I'm really interested to see where they go with that with Sazed, because they've already shown he has exceptional strength and speed, like when he rescued Vin from the tower,
and eyesight.
But just like what else? I feel like this is kind of the precursor toward the next evolution of his character. I'm really
the next stage of what we get told about or what gets revealed.
Well, it makes you wonder too if are there any crossovers between allomancy and feruchemy? I mean, can they cross the streams at all? And can what if Vin ingests a metal that Sazed stores something in? Would that I mean, would it kill her or would it be?
Ooh,
I don't know.
That's a good theory.
I have no clue, but that would be. Those are the things that I kind of thought through.
That's
That's
wow. That
interesting.
never occurred to me. And that's
Because I mean, if he's using, I mean, he's
fascinating,
basically using the same metal combinations.
Yeah.
It sounds like, because he had copper and steel and I can't remember what else, but it was the same as the elementic metals. So there's got to be some sort of a relationship, I would think, between
Yeah,
the
I
two.
think so, too.
Or maybe there's not, or maybe
Interesting.
I don't know.
I mean, he seems pretty thorough, so I bet he's thought of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we then jump to the conversation with
Dox.
Dox
And I thought this one was another one that really reinforces why Doxson has such hatred for the nobility, much like Kelsier.
yes.
But I think it's always interesting the way they juxtapose that with Vin, where being at the balls and knowing Elend and now it's junior high humor. It's fun. I listened to that song in junior high. So anyway, where was I going? Anyway, she has some level of empathy for the nobility that she's run into and encountered at the balls, because she likes big balls and fancy big balls. He likes big balls, and she likes. Anyway,
I hear she's got the biggest balls of them all.
yeah.
Is this where
Are they always bouncing to the left and to the
Yes, they are. As a matter of fact,
But only in Luthadel.
right? Yeah, that's right.
Not
Right.
really in the outer city.
And really at the big houses too,
Yes.
so, which would equate to big balls.
Was it this chapter where she comes out and she says that not all the nobles are like that.
Yeah,
She
And-
certainly
she
been
kinda
thinking
says
about
that
it for a
is like-
while.
But like she came out and was like,
Yeah.
oh no, I've
she's
met
talking
all
to
these
Doxson.
people and
yeah,
Doxson
because she
is like-
says Doxson. Basically, Doxson says they're all like that.
yeah.
And she says, but the people at the bars aren't all like that. I've met them, danced with them. Dox, a lot of them are good people. I don't think they realize how terrible things are for the skaa. And he basically pushes back and says, don't you realize all these things these people are capable of? And she says, cruelty perhaps, and indifference, but they aren't monsters. Not all of them. Not like your former plantation lord. So she's still
kind of caught
Well,
in the
and,
middle.
Mhm.
and he made the comment that as far as plantation lords go, he was actually pretty
Yeah.
lenient.
Yeah.
Which she was
Mhm.
like, wait, she killed your lover and that was lenient.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
And then Doxson finally says, you're letting them dupe you. That,
Right.
Yeah. Basically,
Yes.
you're believing this
which
because you like them.
I like the fact that they're just like, you know what, I get it, but and
Well,
also when you
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but what I was going to say was I think it's interesting how they create Kelsier as such a hopeful and positive
Mm-hmm.
character for the most part, but he has such hatred, and it's everything else is
and
gray,
it's
and
unwavering.
it's black and white. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
there's no middle ground. It's,
Right.
guys, this is disappearing way too fast.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, we should probably move on to
Chapter
anything else
13.
on 22 before
No,
we move
no,
on
I
to.
just thought it was pretty interesting
Yeah.
that she came right out and was just like, no, Docs, they're not all like that, and he was like, well, they kind of are.
Yeah.
So in chapter 23, Vin is back at the ball, or one of the balls,
Mm-hmm.
and she meets Lady Kliss, who just seems like kind of a blabbermouth or somebody who likes to...
Catty, gossipy,
yeah.
not very
The
likable.
busybody neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah, nosy, kind of butts in, blah, blah, blah. But, she's here, and the conversation with Doxson's still really in her mind.
Well, and
she's-
she appears to have taken it to heart
Yeah.
because she's like, I don't want these guys to touch me. I don't want to associate with them. Like I think she specifically mentioned she put on like a black dress so she would differentiate herself from all these different colors that the nobles were wearing and things like that. So I'm kind of surprised that she took it to heart.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it would be so easy for her to like disbelieve for the sake of drama and tension later on.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, of course, yeah.
But as she's kind
Clearly.
of mingling at this
Clearly.
one, she's really just eavesdropping on different conversations,
Basically,
if I remember
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But she's kind of impressed that the stuff Kelsier is doing is really having an effect on
Right.
building tension between
Right, yeah.
the players in these houses.
And so much so that they resort to bringing an obligator over. I thought this was a really interesting part, and I think they're going to swing back to it at some point. But remember, she thinks her father is an obligator.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, we have...
And she's also terrified of them because I think she had the run-in with one early in the book, or was that an Inquisitor?
That was an...
Well, the Steel Inquisitors showed up early in the book, and then she had the run-in with the Steel Inquisitors who seemed to know who she was or wanted to know more about her.
The Obligator realized that they were being persuaded by her luck, and so then sent the Inquisitor after her.
So like this noble like calls one over for just like hey, I told my buddy here I was going to come and play sports with him tomorrow. Do you witness this?
Yeah, but it brings up the role of the Obligators in the Final Empire, where they're not a religious faction. No. They are very much economic and business, and they know everything that's going on, every deal,
I still maintain
every agreement, every transaction.
They're creepy notaries.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Do you think that's what he called them originally? Creepy notaries?
Probably.
That could have been. But that way, because of their role, the Lord Ruler knows everything that's going on.
But let's look at the name, Obligator, and forcing people to keep obligations, maybe?
Yeah. Do you think they have Spanish Inquisitors? Because no one would expect them. They could use the fluffy pillow and the comfy chair.
Yeah,
Brian,
you might be right.
Would you behead Chip, please?
Sorry.
Just grab Stormbreaker and be done with it.
I have one just kind of interesting tidbit on... Sanderson talks about it in his annotation of this chapter, but he said that tin wasn't one of the original metals, because I think she's using tin to eavesdrop on everybody.
Sure, yeah.
But he said tin wasn't one of the originals, it was silver, but he said it was due to bad information that when he used to paint little fantasy figures as a child, he was convinced that they were that pewter was an alloy of silver and lead, and not tin and lead, which is what it is. But he blames Hobbytown in Nebraska City for his error, but he fixed it over time.
Nebraska City is home of Arbor Day, so anyone from Nebraska,
there you go.
Plant a tree.
Nice. All right. So I thought that was kind of an interesting little tidbit that he threw in there.
Maybe a purple tree. I don't know.
Maybe.
But so Vin's, it's like I said, like she's like taken Dox's comments to heart, and she's just like, you know what, I got to get out of here.
Yep. And
Shan shows up.
She's Ambrose Jackus from Name of the Wind.
She is.
She's just a BITCA.
Every time she shows up, and I think this is only like the second or third time.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm just like,
I just hate her.
She has a cloud of negativity that follows around, and
she is Ambrose.
She is.
Yeah.
And she's just there to make Vin's life hell.
Except she's almost even more like. There's almost more like subversion. Like there's like almost an even cunning, conniving way of twisting people.
Yeah, like a passive aggressive type. Yeah, which is the worst.
Nasty.
Yeah.
But so Shannon wants Vin to go through Elend's books, isn't it, and kind of see. Oh, he might be reading some banned books, or some stuff that
she clearly suspects that.
Yes,
and Vin knows that he has been doing that.
Right, and he's kind of left him just openly around.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't really care.
So she is worried about him because of that. So even though the story Doxon told, she still has feelings for Elend, which as she's waiting for Sazed after Shan leaves, she runs into Elend, and they have a little discussion, and she confronts him on, did you do this? I've heard this happened, and did you ever bet a skaa woman?
So here's the thing that I really thought was interesting about this, and let me find this. Oh, yeah. She uses, like, portions of the truth, right? Because she makes the comment, he was right, you're all monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what basically Doxon told her in the previous chapter.
Mm-hmm.
But she's lying to keep her cover, but doing it in a way where she's incorporating pieces of the truth, which I think makes it more grounded and more believable.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was very interesting. Because it's not the first time she's done it.
No.
But I think it shows how clever she's growing and how much she's learning through this whole experience and applying what she's learning.
Right. Yes. And it's interesting to read this chapter and just see like how much progress she's made, like how much these people like have brought her into the circle and trust her and are just like going about their business because they feel she's one of them.
Right.
Yeah.
So mission accomplished. Good job, Vin.
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
Valette.
Valette,
Yeah.
So and I think she kind of presses Elend to say, well, if it's not everybody, then what's the percentage? And I think he comes down and says,
Like a third
it's
or
a
something?
third.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, he said it's not the type of people he likes to spend his time
Right.
with. But he does admit that his father is one of the third. That he's pretty brutal and
he grew up with
ruthless.
that.
Another piece that I thought was interesting here was that Vin goes back to a question Elend asked her previously about the plantation skaa.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
she's like, they are just like us.
Yeah. And Elend really latches onto that.
And like he's shocked.
And he's genuinely interested and wants to know more.
He's like, whoa, really? Like are they slow? Like, I mean, it's like everything he's been conditioned and taught is telling him that they're lesser being, which is probably an allegory to slavery, if we're
I'm sure.
honest.
Yeah.
Well, it has to be.
I mean, they are basically slaves, so yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he's
'cause he
shocked
says-
to learn they're not slow
he says
and that they're aware of their position
Mhm.
and the caste system and how they're being oppressed.
Yeah, and I think it was funny when he says, in intelligence, did they seem slow? Of course not, Vin snapped. I should think, Elend ventured, that I know several skaa more clever than yourself. They may not have an
Burn.
education, but they're still intelligent and they're angry. Angry, some of them, about the way they've been treated, and it just kind of
Yeah.
goes on from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he goes off and wants to meet with his friends, and Sazed's
Yep.
there to take her home because she had originally.
That. Anyway, so
she had called for Sazed because she wanted to
She
leave.
just was
and he
ready to
showed
leave.
up.
And
Yeah.
she collected 2 handkerchiefs, which...
Yeah.
Yes, she
That
did
was
get
a big-
one from Spook earlier at the
Yep.
was it the mansion?
That Reno is.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elend gave her one to wipe something off, and he's like,
And she tried
no,
to give
it
it back.
wasn't utilitarian.
Yes.
And she's like,
Oh.
Yeah.
girl.
And then I think
see
when
what you did
Sazed
there.
sees her, he's like, "Is that another handkerchief?"
with almost that, you have been busy.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
So then she's really intrigued to know, follow up and see what
Yeah.
what Elend and his friends are doing. And this is the first time she's really gone out and used her allomancy out in the mist.
And
since
Sazed
her-
said she could.
Yep.
He's like,
She's
okay,
ready.
fine.
You're ready.
She's like,
And-
how's your side? Good. Okay, fine.
So yep. So she
Yeah.
does that, and then who does she run into while she's up there spying? Not
Is
the
this a
Spanish
trick
Inquisition.
question? Is this a trick question?
No.
It's it starts with a K, and he's back. He'd been gone for a little while.
Oh, Eminem.
Yeah.
Guess who's back?
Back.
Back
Back
again.
again.
Yeah.
Again.
Okay.
Anyway,
I
it is
promise I will
Kelsey here.
never do that again.
Thank you.
And now it's recorded.
Yes.
She ran into Kelsier.
Yes.
Of all people.
Yeah.
She's been waiting for his return for months.
And apparently
But
he's
who
been
else
spying
is-
on them before.
Right.
Right.
I think ever since.
I think when she
told
first
him,
you could see that she had an interest in him and just
well,
and
she
she
also
said some
told him
stuff-
that
yeah.
he was hanging out with
these
rival
people from rival houses.
Yeah.
and-
people. So I think there was probably an interest there. So.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Anyway.
But really, then there's not much else that happens here. I'm trying to think of how it really ends. They just have a little conversation, and eventually they kind of go their separate ways. And
Right.
Doesn't Kelsier make some promise to not
kill him. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, he's going to try his
Yes.
best to not kill
Yeah,
him.
because he said, I've spied on this
I'll
little group
kill
of...
all the nobles, but I'll leave him alone.
At least I'll
Yeah.
try.
Yeah.
He said, I've spied on that little group a couple of times since you told me about them. I shouldn't have bothered. They're not a threat. Just a bunch of noblings getting together to drink and debate. But they want to overthrow the Lord Ruler. They're just doing what noblemen do, planning alliances. It's not unusual, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he does say something about, I promise. Oh, here it is. She laughed, and he said, oh, don't get like that. They seem like nice enough lads for noblemen. I promise not to kill any of them, all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for listening to us. If you look below, you will see a link to our Mistborn playlist, which contains all of our previous episodes.
Yep.
We invite you to click on that. And also, there's a link to our next episode that you can click after we air it. Thank you so
Hooray.
much. We will see you next time. Once again, we send stuff out on Wednesday evenings, so keep an eye out. Thank you.
Allons-y.